Hey gamers, this is Daniel, and today we have a very special playthrough of Strangulation. Never having been loved is synonymous with never having lived, Lou Salome. Dreams don't come true so easily. Well, yeah, I mean, I can barely handle reality, so in other words, all wishes are nearly unattainable. Well, yeah, but not all nearly unattainable things are wishes. That's a fragment of Zerozaki and me, a small sample of our conversation. Even if you want a nonsense user like me, anyone who harbors at least a supercon of doubt about the world must have had a more or less similar experience in exchange not influenced by cheaply supplied empathy, a pathetic desire to conform or a miraculously ubiquitous synchronicity, but rather a realm of mirroring that precedes senses and concepts of something just being the way it is. There was no speck of realism, shard of necessity, segment of theorem, or clarification or clownification. Not a single puff of congruence or words like illusion, no solution or illusion, not a drop of cogency, not a shred of common sense, not a shadow of relevance, not a note of world harmony, and above all, no romance. The true comedy of it, however, is that it's not as if nothing happened. It's a comedy that breeds sorrow, demands compassion, and even has a poignant air. I think it was irregular to begin with, untouchable. When you think of Zerozaki as being on the other side of a ward resurface, that's the only way to comprehend him. Otherwise, there's absolutely no point in trying to put his no longer human existence into words. Then again, regardless of what that may have been, was there any meaning to Zerozaki? Just as your nonsense user overwhelmingly lacks any meaning, expecting to come up with an external judgment about that serial killer is already an exemplarily misguided response wanting in an analytic coherence. How do you go about describing that sensation anyway? Interfacing and exchanging words with oneself with that bizarre yet all too orthodox core of the tale. Right, so that encounter itself was far-fetched. Maybe it was a primal experience, the very first word we heard, a record to be termed our roots, a past to be likened to association, vectors with identical origins and directions, as if to precede the everyday, as if reflected in a mirror. That is to say, I think we were similar. We were like two congruent figures that required no geometric proof, and we were both incredibly aware of this. From a subjective viewpoint, when we spoke to each other, I was of course myself and Zerozaki was Zerozaki, neither of us wanting anything more or less, as we were well aware. Yet we recognized each other, identified with each other, we shared a contradiction beyond the limitations of language, hence the other side of reflecting waters. Now let's introduce an innocent young girl, her for instance. Posit that she looks into a mirror for the first time. Surely she doesn't believe that the form before her is a mere reflection of the light. Instead, she imagines, without fail, she creates an endless world on the other side, separated by a single plane. She creates within her a world bearing an enormous contradiction, a perfect replica of here that nonetheless exists in an infinitely distant place. The indulgence that pardons this contradiction isn't ignorance. It matters little which world is real and which is imaginary. If one is true, then the other is false. But if truth is in fact a deception, then both have equal value and are equally lacking in value. That's what I think. Zerozaki thought so too. In a sense, our relationship was very much like that. We realized we were the same, but we also understood that we were completely different. I think I could have become like you. That's why I feel a certain affinity. I doubt I could ever become like you. That's what I like about you. Another sample of our conversation. Truly nonsensical, ultimately. I'm pretty sure we both despised ourselves, so we despised our own kin and kind. We hated ourselves, resented ourselves, and cursed ourselves so much that ironically we were able to acknowledge each other. I think it was something special. Well, of course it was. Be the passerby stone and the serial killer, opposites as though a mirror stood between us. Only, when that dreamer of a girl reaches out her graceful hand and touches the mirror even a little, probably all that's there is emptiness, a hollow, scattered feel. What she allowed to exist, someone else didn't. Moreover, the existence that she allowed didn't matter one bit to someone else. She's made to understand. Probably at that moment, without exaggeration, a world has broken for the girl. So then, this is the tale of one world collapsing, a world falling apart without an ultramarine savant or a flaming red strongest human needing to bring her hand down, but simply from being there in a fashion. When a fallacy bearing a justified contradiction reigns simultaneously on someone who's no longer human and someone who's a defective product, it all reduces to zero. So then.